When I moved to Maple Ridge, people said I was lucky. A fresh start near my son, in a town with clean air and good sidewalks. I sold my old home, packed 40 years of life into boxes, and drove west with a sense of quiet purpose. Jake had just bought a bigger house with Lauren, his wife, and they said there was room for me. A finished basement with its own entrance, new carpet, and a little patio that caught the morning sun. "It's perfect," Lauren said, smiling as she showed me the downstairs bathroom. "You'll have your own space, and we'll help each other." I gave them part of the sale from my old house. Not a loan, not officially, just a contribution to make the mortgage manageable. They insisted it was still their house, of course, but I didn't mind. I wasn't coming to take. I was coming to belong. I helped however I could. Folded laundry, paid for groceries, took care of their baby while Lauren went back to work, made soup, picked up after the dog, shared dinner most nights around the big oak table they picked out together. From the outside, it looked like a sweet arrangement. Laughter in the halls, birthday candles, shared leftovers, but some moments stay longer than others. The hospital walls were pale blue, and the lights too soft. I was in the ICU, pneumonia, they said. I don't remember much from those hours. The beeping machines, the cold drip of fluids, someone adjusting my blanket. But I remember Jake. He stood by the bed, checked the time and said, "Mom, it's Lauren's birthday. We can't cancel everything for you." Then they walked out. I stayed and listened to the machines and wondered if I would live through the night. Wondered what part of me they'd already left behind. Coming home from the hospital felt like slipping into someone else's life. Lauren picked me up in Jake's car. The seat was sticky with old juice boxes and crushed cereal, and the music was too loud for how quiet we both were. She didn't ask how I felt. Just said, "We're keeping things calm around the house, okay? No stress." When we pulled into the driveway, my room looked the same, at first. But I noticed the changes slowly. My dresser was gone, replaced by a low shelf holding a white noise machine and a box of tissues. The painting of Jake as a child, the one I'd kept by my bed for years, was missing. I asked where it was. "Oh, we just put some things in storage," Lauren said, brushing it off. "Your room was so cluttered, and we wanted to make it cozy again for your recovery." She meant tidy. She meant neutral. She meant less yours. In the kitchen, the labels had changed. Gluten-free. Organic. Lauren's section. I reached for the coffee maker one morning and was gently reminded not to touch anything while you're still healing. I hadn't asked for help. Jake was the same in his own way. Smiles that didn't last long. Nods instead of conversation. He stopped asking if I wanted to join them upstairs for dinner and instead said things like, "Lauren and I are going to eat upstairs tonight, just to keep things simple." Simple. Like me not being there at all. I tried to stay useful. I folded towels, swept the patio, walked the dog even when my chest still ached. I kept receipts, left little grocery items on the counter, milk, eggs, applesauce for the baby. But Lauren began leaving notes. "Please don't worry about housework. Just rest." Another, "We've got meals covered, no need to cook." The third, "Don't go upstairs without one of us. Stairs are risky now." My legs were fine. What wasn't fine was how I had slowly been moved out of the household without ever being asked to leave. Photos appeared on the mantel without me in them. Family group shots from the weekend I was in the hospital. Birthday parties I didn't know had happened. I found one picture of Jake holding the baby with Lauren's parents on either side, smiling like it was their home. My hand wasn't in any of them. I didn't cry. I just started noticing things more sharply. The way Lauren locked the pantry now. The way my packages were opened before I saw them. The way the baby called me Nana, only when prompted. Like it was something he had to remember. One afternoon I heard Lauren on the phone. I hadn't meant to overhear. I was carrying a basket of laundry through the hallway. "She's sweet," Lauren said, her voice soft. "But we need to start thinking about other options. It's not sustainable long term. Especially not with the baby getting older." There was a pause. Then, No, Jake agrees. He just doesn't know how to bring it up yet. Froze. Not sustainable. I was not sustainable. I put the laundry basket down slowly. Sat in the patio chair, staring out at the trimmed hedges I had shaped myself last summer. The words echoed differently in my head each time. Is sweet. Other options. Jake agrees. I tried after that to be quieter. Said less. Offered less. Moved less. I told myself maybe that would help. If I just became easier. Less visible. Less work. They'd change their mind. But people don't change their mind about what they think is disposable. They just wait for the right moment to throw it away. It started with small logistical shifts. The basement TV was reallocated to the upstairs playroom. The laundry unit was suddenly out of service, so I was asked to hold off on washing and leave clothes by the stairs instead. My toiletries were moved into a small bin under the sink. To make room, Lauren said. I wasn't dying. I had recovered. But in their house, I was already ghosting. I overheard Jake one evening after dinner, when he thought I was asleep. He was talking to Lauren, not angry, just tired. She's not going to live forever, he said. I know, Lauren replied. But it feels like she might. They laughed. I turned to the wall and stared into the dark, listening to my breath. Still there. Still here. It started with blue painter's tape. A strip along the hallway, then across the bedroom doorway. I didn't notice at first. Thought it was for painting, maybe patchwork. But then I saw the stickers. Little colored circles, stuck to furniture corners, cupboard handles, storage bins. Red, yellow, green. On the kitchen counter lay a printed checklist. Photograph rooms. Remove clutter. Mark duplicates for donation. Depersonalize spaces. My name wasn't on it. But my things were. I stared at it for a long time. The page had coffee stains and a smear of pen. At the bottom, someone had written in a neat loop. Deadline, Thursday before listing. Listing. I took a walk around the house. Slowly. The hallway mirror, mine from the old place, had a red sticker. My rocking chair from the patio, yellow. The quilt from my bedroom, folded now on the couch, green. I opened the hall closet. My winter coats were missing. I opened the garage. Boxes, all mine. Labeled. Neatly taped. My handwriting nowhere on them. When I stepped back into the kitchen, Lauren was pouring herself a cup of tea. She turned, smiled lightly. Oh, you saw the checklist. I didn't answer. We're just planning ahead, she said, cheerful. Nothing's happening yet. But the market's good right now, and we've been thinking about a new space. What about this one? Yes. My voice came out calm, flat. Oh, Jake and I have been talking, she said, waving her hand. Something more manageable. Fewer stairs. More open plan. We're thinking ahead. And me. Where was I in the plan? I didn't ask. Because the answer was already on the checklist. That night, they offered to move me into the guest room. It's closer to the bathroom, Lauren said, helping fold the sheets. Just for safety. Jake added. The stairs are probably too much now. They didn't ask. I packed. Moved my medications, my books, my lamp. The room they moved me into had no door, just an archway. It had a futon and a shelf of old board games. My name was nowhere. I didn't protest. I didn't unpack either. That was the night I started writing everything down. Not out of fear. Just so I wouldn't forget how it happened. Over the next few days, the staging became more obvious. They cleared my soap from the shower. Replaced it with sleek, neutral bottles. My slippers disappeared from the hallway. When I asked, Lauren said, "Oh, we're just tucking some things away. Less visual noise for when the realtor does walkthroughs." The house felt thinner, like a hotel waiting for guests. Only the guests weren't me. At dinner, Jake talked about a neighborhood across town. Good schools, lots of light. More modern layout. I asked, "Will there be space for me?" He paused, looked at Lauren. "Well, we're still figuring that out," he said. Lauren added, "Maybe something near a good care facility? Somewhere with support." Support. I wasn't weak. I wasn't sick. But I was clearly no longer what they wanted to deal with. I sat with them through that meal, chewing each bite slowly while they talked about square footage and school ratings. I nodded when it seemed appropriate. That night, I opened the hallway closet again. More things gone. I looked through the kitchen drawers. My recipes, my notes, vanished. In their place, labeled dividers and empty space. The next day, I went to the patio, only to find my gardening gloves missing. The pots had been rearranged. My rosemary bush trimmed down to a stub. Lauren stepped outside and said brightly, "We're keeping it simple for the showing. Minimalism reads better." He nodded, then asked, "When is the showing?" She blinked. "Well, nothing is scheduled yet. We're just, planning ahead." There it was again. Planning. They planned me right out of my own life. I spent that night lying on the futon, staring at the ceiling, listening to the faint creaks of their laughter upstairs. My chest didn't hurt. My breathing was calm. But inside something shifted. Quietly. Irrevocably. It wasn't sadness. It wasn't anger. It was recognition. They didn't see me as a mother anymore. Not even as a person, really. I had become a transitional detail. Something to resolve before the next stage of their lives could begin. An obstacle. And obstacles are moved. That's when the calm inside me became something colder. Got up. I took out my notebook. I wrote down every sticker, every date, every conversation. I made a copy of the checklist. And then I waited. Not for a confrontation. For confirmation. And it came faster than I thought. The night the last bit of fog cleared, I wasn't even looking for anything. It was late. They'd gone out to dinner with friends, left the baby with a sitter, told me to take it easy. I stayed downstairs, ate leftover soup, washed my single bowl. The house was still and hollow like a hotel after checkout. I meant to close the laptop. It had been left open on the kitchen table. Jake's, I assumed. He always left things half-finished. A spreadsheet glowed on the screen. Columns of dates and numbers. Mortgage. Insurance. Grocery expenses. Basement utilities. I might have walked away. But in the corner a message notification popped up. Lauren. Once she's settled in the new place we can breathe. We filed under her name. Another message scrolled up from earlier in the day. Jake. The agent says we'll get better offers if it looks like the house is fully theirs. She won't know. She signs anything. Filed under her name. She won't know. Click deeper. Searched pension. Another message appeared from a week before. Lauren. Did you reroute her deposit? We need it in before the appraisal. Jake. Done. All direct deposit goes to the joint now. A joint. I opened a new tab and typed in the bank site. I hadn't looked in months. Not since the hospital. Jake had said he'd set things up so I wouldn't need to stress over bills. I entered the password. Didn't work. Tried again. Nothing. Reset required authentication. Sent to Jake's phone. I sat still, the glow of the screen painting the kitchen in pale light. My name was still on the account. But I couldn't reach it. I didn't panic. I stood, walked to the hall closet, opened the file box where I kept my documents. My social security statement, opened. My pension statements, missing. My medical folder rearranged. And on the very top a single envelope. Inside, a notice from the Social Security Administration. Change of address. Confirmation. Not my handwriting. The listed address. The one Lauren's aunt used for her business office. I checked the emergency contact form I had filled out during the hospital intake. I remembered putting down my friend Nora. She lived close, had always said she'd be there if anything went wrong. Instead, the form now listed Jake. Under power of attorney. I never signed a new one. At least I didn't remember signing. But a copy was printed. Filed. With my name on it. Missy. Rushed. I stared at the signature. Name. But it didn't look like mine. It looked like someone pretending. I spent the rest of the night printing everything. Emails. Messages. Screenshots. I used the upstairs printer, Lauren's office. She'd gone minimalist but left the ink loaded. I slid the pages into a folder and hid it under my mattress. By morning I'd barely slept. But I knew exactly what I was doing. Jake came down for coffee. "Hey Mom. You sleep okay?" He nodded. He kissed the top of my head like he used to when he was small. "We're going to have the agent come tomorrow, just to talk about timelines. No pressure." I nodded again. "Lauren said you were worried about the stickers." "Don't be. It's all just prep. Nothing's changing yet." I looked up at him and smiled. Then said, "Do you still have my social security card?" He blinked. "What?" "You asked for it last month, remember? For the tax filing." "Was. Oh right. Somewhere in the office, probably." He nodded. "Could you find it today? I'd like it back." "Of course." He smiled. But I could see it now, how it faltered. How he looked not at my face but over my shoulder. Already calculating what I knew. After they left for the open house across town, I walked upstairs again. Found the folder labeled, Utilities. It was empty. In the recycling bin under the desk, I found scraps. Shredded bills, statements, correspondence. My name torn through the middle. In the filing drawer was a signed listing agreement. Jake and Lauren. Agent's name printed neatly. My name again scribbled below, dated. Next to a signature that trembled like an old woman's hand. Except I hadn't signed anything. Not then. Not ever. That evening I called the agent. Used *67 to hide the number. "I'm calling about the house on Willow Lane," I said. "I'm the legal property owner." "Oh yes. I've been working with Jake and Lauren on the prep." "Are you their realtor or?" "No," I said. "I'm the person whose name is on the title. And I've never signed anything giving permission for a sale." Silence. "I have documentation," I said. "And legal proof of forgery. You may want to pause any action until that's resolved." The agent stammered. Apologized. Said she would hold off. Thanked her. And hung up. Then I called Nora. Told her I might need her help. Not with lifting things. Just to sit beside me when the papers were signed. That night I took a long walk around the neighborhood. Past the same trees I had once watched Jake climb. Past the school he used to ride his bike toward, late and laughing. Past the ice cream shop where Lauren once told me she wanted 3 children. The world was smaller now. Quieter. But not faded. Just different. The home I had moved into wasn't mine. But the fight I was walking into. That was. And it wasn't a fight for place. It was a fight for identity. For dignity. For something they had started stripping away the day they realized I would never stop being a mother. But they had stopped being children. I didn't pack a bag. I didn't slam doors. I didn't cry. I simply left the house before sunrise, walked to the corner cafe with my folder under one arm, and waited for it to open. The air was cold. My hands were steady. By 8 a.m. I was seated across from a young woman named Naomi, a legal aid attorney with a calm face and a pencil skirt. She didn't flinch when I handed her the folder. She just listened, page after page. When I finished, she asked, "Do you want confrontation or correction?" "Correction," I said. She nodded. "Then we move fast but quiet. First the basics." She helped me file the paperwork to revoke the forged power of attorney. We contacted the bank, froze the compromised account, and flagged any withdrawals linked to unauthorized access. She filed a fraud report under my name, documented every change, every forged signature, every rerouted payment. We wrote to the pension office to restore direct deposit to an account I opened that same morning, under my maiden name. Clean slate. Clean access. Then we secured my mail. Filed a change of address. Got a P.O. box. Naomi explained how easily control could be maintained through mail alone, intercepting bills, hiding notices, quietly rearranging a person's legal identity. They'd done all of that. No more. I bought a prepaid phone. New number. Paid cash. Left the old one turned off at the house, right where they expected it to be. I called the agent back from a borrowed line. Told her the paperwork had been forged. That I was the only one legally authorized to sell the house. She apologized again. Said she'd already put things on hold. She sounded nervous. I didn't reassure her. I didn't reassure anyone anymore. Back at the house, everything was quiet. Jake was upstairs with the baby. Lauren was working in the kitchen, papers spread out across the table. House photos, budget notes, a script for the listing. I walked past them both, into the laundry room, opened the cabinet behind the detergent, tucked my folder inside. They didn't look up. They didn't know I had returned from battle. That afternoon they came downstairs. Lauren said, "The agent's a little jumpy today." Said something about title confusion. "Did you talk to her?" I shook my head. "She might be mixing up listings," Jake added casually. "It happens." I just smiled. Then turned the conversation toward dinner. The next morning I pretended to head to a dental appointment. I left a post-it note on the fridge. Instead I went back to Naomi's office. We pulled property records. We notified the county clerk's office of potential fraud. We filed an official challenge to the sale. I transferred the house into a trust, one they couldn't access. I listed myself as the sole beneficiary. Gave Naomi trustee power. She would oversee everything in case anything happened to me. "Do you want to leave the house?" she asked. "Eventually. Soon. Not yet." I wasn't finished. Back at the house I began to clean. Deep cleaning, the kind that seems harmless, even helpful. I took photos as I went. Documented every room. Made a list of what was mine. Furniture, dishes, photographs, keepsakes. I boxed them quietly. Labeled them neatly. Stored them in the basement closet behind the water heater. I made digital copies of every document Naomi filed. Stored them on a flash drive. Hid that drive in the lining of my old purse, the one Lauren called shabby and never touched. I canceled every automatic payment they had set up using my name. Canceled the joint credit card Jake had applied for, marked as authorized user L. Adams. Not anymore. 2 nights later I set the trap. I told them I was going to visit Nora for a few days. Needed time. Rest. They nodded politely. Lauren said, "Take your time. We want you well." Jake hugged me. "You deserve a break." They watched me carry out my suitcase. Empty save for a sweater and a used crossword book. The prepaid phone was already in my pocket. I left the front door, turned the corner, and walked back through the alley to Nora's car, waiting 3 blocks away. We watched the house from her driveway. Waited. Within 24 hours, the alerts began. Attempted login to my pension account. Failed verification on my new bank portal. A flagged call to the utility company. Request to reconfirm authorized names. Naomi smiled when I showed her the log. "They're moving fast," she said. "Good," I said. "Let them." I returned to the house unannounced the next morning. Jake was in the garage, startled. "Oh, you're back already." Decided not to go. "Everything okay?" "Everything's fine," I said, smiling. "Why wouldn't it be?" Lauren came out later, holding her phone too tightly. Said nothing. She knew. Or she would soon. The final step was simple. I ordered a locksmith. I didn't tell them. Changed both locks. Installed a camera. Set up alerts to my new phone. I didn't ask permission. I didn't leave instructions. That evening I served dinner. Just soup and bread. Jake didn't eat much. Lauren stayed upstairs. I sat alone in the kitchen after they went to bed. Turned off the light. Closed my eyes. And waited. Not for permission. Not for approval. But for peace. And for the moment they'd realize the house no longer belonged to them. Not by law. Not by control. Not by habit. Started with confusion. The day after I changed the locks, Jake called from the front porch. "Mom. Hey, the key's not working." I walked to the door slowly, opened it halfway. "We changed the locks," I said. "We?" he asked. "I did." He blinked. "Why?" "No one asked me when they changed my bedroom. Or my bank account. Or signed the sale agreement." He opened his mouth, closed it. Do you want to come in? Asked. No, he said too quickly. No, that's fine. And he left. That was the last normal conversation we had. The next day, Lauren posted a photo of me online. Smiling. Dated. From the baby's first birthday. The caption read, "Caring for elderly parents isn't always easy, especially when memory loss begins. Please be kind, we're doing our best." Below it, dozens of comments. Sending prayers. So hard. You're such a good daughter-in-law. She's lucky to have you. I stared at the screen. My hands didn't shake. I just took a screenshot. Then I shut it down. Later that week they came back to the house. Unannounced. Jake rang the bell. Lauren stood beside him, holding the baby. The stroller wheels muddy. I didn't open the door right away. Let the silence grow. Finally I opened it. Jake spoke first. "We're worried about you." Lauren added. "Really worried?" I said nothing. Jake stepped forward. "You're not acting like yourself." I watched the baby reach for a leaf on the porch step. "I've spoken to a lawyer," I said. Their faces changed. Continued. "The house is in a trust. The sale is void. The financial access is revoked. The power of attorney is invalid. The police have copies of everything." Jake's voice sharpened. "What is this? Revenge? This is correction. We took care of you. You rearranged me. You're unstable. You're scared," I said quietly. Lauren stepped forward. "We did what we thought was best. You were vulnerable. You're still vulnerable. Being tired isn't a disability," I said. She looked at the baby. "Do you even care what this is doing to him?" "I care that he sees what silence looks like when it wakes up." Jake stepped forward again, louder now. "You don't get to destroy everything we've built just because you had a few bad days." "I built it," I said. "You tried to sell it." Lauren's voice cracked. "You're going to regret this." "No," I said. "You are." And I closed the door. They left notes in the mailbox after that. Apologies in large letters. Then demands. Then explanations. They alternated between guilt and rage. One envelope had a Bible verse circled in red. "Honor thy father and thy mother." Another had a photocopy of my hospital release form with a scribbled note. "You were barely coherent. We did what you couldn't." I forwarded everything to Naomi. She sent a letter. "Cease all direct contact. All further communication must go through legal representation." They stopped coming by. But they didn't stop pushing. A few days later, I received an official letter from an attorney they had hired. A glossy high-end firm. The letter was careful. Accused me of misunderstanding. Said Jake and Lauren acted in good faith. That they supported me emotionally and financially. That I was creating unnecessary harm. Naomi drafted a reply. It was short. Every claim disproven with documentation. We included screenshots. Copies of forged signatures. Evidence of rerouted pensions. Then Naomi added a single sentence. Further false characterization of my client's mental state or public narrative attempts to discredit her will result in defamation proceedings. We heard nothing more from that firm. At night, I sat on the back porch and listened to the wind. I thought about how quickly the world can shift. How one moment you are a helper and the next a burden. How people raised by your hands can still use them to push you aside. I didn't feel broken. Felt clarified. I spent time watching documentaries, walking the neighborhood, calling old friends. I joined a local women's group at the library. Quiet people, most of them. But steady. One woman shared how her son forged a loan in her name. Another said her daughter stopped calling the moment her inheritance was signed over. None of us were loud. But none of us were alone. Jake emailed one night. Just one line. "We didn't think you'd go this far." I didn't reply. Because it wasn't far. It was mine. My space. My decision. Name. I sold the house in silence. Naomi handled the details. No listing, no photos, no signs on the lawn. A private buyer, arranged through her contacts. Clean offer. All cash. I signed the papers at a quiet office downtown. No champagne. No speeches. Just ink and resolve. I walked out holding a certified check that represented the last of my savings, my marriage, my motherhood, and every hour of invisible labor I had poured into other people's comfort. I took a taxi to the bank, opened a trust, put my name on every line. Then I divided the rest into 3 parts. One for long-term care if I ever needed it, one for immediate use, and the third for giving away. Not to family. Not to those who knew me as a transaction. But to places that had once held me when no one else did. I wrote a check to the women's shelter that let me shower in private when Frank was too sick to care. Another to a community scholarship fund for single mothers. And a third to the legal aid office, Naomi's office. She hadn't asked for anything, but I sent it anyway, along with a note that read, "You helped me remember I was still a person." I moved into a small coastal rental in a quiet town 3 hours away. 1 bedroom, porch with chipped paint, salt in the air. There was no welcome committee, no dinner invitations, no expectations, just quiet. On the first night, I unpacked only 3 things. My kettle, a single photo of myself in my 20s, and the soft blue quilt Lauren once folded into a box labeled donate. I spread the quilt across the new bed. Boiled water. Sat by the open window and listened to the wind coming off the ocean. It didn't say anything. It didn't need to. Jake called. I didn't answer. He left a voicemail. Voice tight like he was trying to sound gentle but forgot how. "Mom, I don't know where you went. I don't know what you think happened, but this is out of control. We weren't trying to hurt you. Lauren's upset. The baby's confused. Please don't do this. We're still family." Then silence. Then, "Please come back." I deleted it. Not because I was angry. Because there was nowhere to come back to. The next time he tried, it was an email. Long, carefully written. He admitted to rerouting the pension. Said it was temporary. That they panicked about bills. He blamed the mortgage, Lauren's stress, the pressure of parenthood. He said they didn't mean to make me feel excluded. He said they still loved me. He said they made mistakes. He asked if there was a way back. I read it twice, then closed the laptop, and wrote nothing, because apologies are not currency, and love is not a receipt. My days became simple. Mornings with tea, walks to the market, library visits, a local garden I started volunteering at, where no one asked about my past, only if I could prune roses or water the west bed. I made friends, quiet ones like me, women with stories behind their eyes and nothing to prove. We met on Thursdays. We didn't speak of family. We spoke of tomatoes and weather and which book was worth finishing. They asked nothing of me. Gave freely. Not because I owed. 'Cause I chose to. Once I saw a family in town. Mother, father, baby in a sling. The baby reached toward the ocean, laughed as the wind caught her hair. The mother kissed her forehead. The father bent to tie her shoe. They didn't see me watching. And I didn't feel bitter. Just outside of it. But full. Not empty. The last time I heard from Jake, it was a card. No return address. No photo. Just a folded page with 4 words in his handwriting. Are we still family? Put it in a drawer. Not out of cruelty. But because the question no longer had weight. The sea is loud at night here. Sounds like breathing. The house creaks with the tide. I leave the windows open. The wind moves freely. Sometimes I dream of the past. Not the betrayal. Just fragments. Jake is a boy, handing me a rock shaped like a heart. Frank humming in the garden. The smell of Sunday dinner. I let the memories come. Then I let them go. I am not a mother in this house. I am not a burden. I am not a bank. I am not a lesson. I am not a project. I am just a woman who reclaimed the last good years of her life. No longer waiting to be valued. No longer negotiating her worth. No longer hoping to be included. I am quiet now, but not small. One evening I lit a candle on the porch. Wrote a final sentence in my journal. It wasn't bitter. It wasn't angry. Just true. My son chose a birthday over my life. And he learned what happens next.